Saturday.
Okay, so we'll skip
I shot a
to.
deer, I had a week for meat locker process it, so I drove it.
Let's go to discussion with our auditor first. What do we got next week?
Okay, so I don't think our calendar's real busy yet for next week, but,
And then miss the date.
yes. It changes on a daily basis. So next week is the 31st. So we'll be talking to Veterans Affairs about increasing the commissioners from 3 to 5. Talking about readdressing the cell phone reimbursement policy, readdressing the policy for the $5,000 spending limit without board approval, and approving a handwritten claim. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is budget workshops. I know that you guys will be, Roger, I don't know who all of you are, but we'll be meeting with the Secretary Road Union this week and maybe talking informally with the bargaining unit. So hopefully in the next week or so we'll have some direction on wages. So I'm hoping maybe next week we can get some more workshops done with the department heads on wages, because by February 17th at the latest, I have to have published, 16th, I have to have published our max levy notice, because first we have to do the max levy hearing. That has to be posted 10 to 20 days before that hearing, and then we have to have the hearing for the budget, and that has to be posted 10 to 20 days. So by February 17th, I have to have that notice so we can have our hearing on the 21st. So I'm hoping we can do workshops next week and the following week, so we can get the budget done, so.
Wait, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we got Renee, we're gonna do, is that road, or is that,
It's road.
it's road? When are we doing courthouse?
Well, Renee had said that we can do informal, maybe speaking with Will, after that time, so she can contact him. I don't know how much can happen at that time. That's kind of up to Renee, but she said we could have an informal discussion at that time, after we got the secretary.
So we're gonna put that on the agenda, because we're gonna all be here to discuss it.
Well, it's on the agenda for.
Renee, what's on the agenda?
It's
says
union,
what- union.
union's
Yeah.
initial bargaining.
They're not union.
What does it actually say?
It says union.
Union's
Receive union's
initial,
initial bargaining proposal by county and presentation of county's initial bargaining proposal to the
You
union.
have to
Probably
repost
another-
that and not have union, you're gonna have to repost that on the.
Well, I put on there what she told me to put on, so that's
Yeah.
exactly, I asked her about that.
might want
and she-
another bullet point under it.
She said I didn't need to, because
She
it's
did?
informal.
Okay,
So I can send you the email about it,
Which,
forward that to
yeah,
you, but
I know that's
she,
under separate notice.
because they won't be presenting an actual
proposal,
proposal at that time, it will be just,
what, Thursday we have nothing.
are we supposed to have something?
We got Joe's lawsuit on Friday.
Oh, you mean for budget?
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll have any information for the bargaining unit to be looking at soon.
Probably not.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking next week, is there any time that you, doesn't work for you guys next week?
Monday,
Monday doesn't work?
you know, you're gonna have problems because I'm gonna be gone. That'd be the 30th, correct?
Yes, Thursday.
Yeah, it'll be 30th.
Okay, Monday doesn't work.
Monday was my one day that does, but I can make, I just have work scheduled and I grab
Monday.
dinner on Wednesday.
Monday's fine with me.
Tuesday, like Tuesday after the board meeting?
Yeah.
Or Tuesday afternoon,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
if we schedule stuff Tuesday
I
afternoon.
just have, I have to be at the funeral home at 4 o'clock on Tuesday.
Okay,
Okay.
We're talking about next week, February, well, January 31st.
yeah,
Okay.
um,
I was gonna say, cause that second, we have ISAC.
Yeah,
Supervisors.
Yep.
Oh,
Thursday, you got director of Thursday.
Thursday on the 2nd is the statewide supervisors
Right.
meeting in Norman.
That's what I was.
And this is only tentative if we have some direction on where to go. We won't need to do it if we don't have any information, so,
Correct.
this is just,
Well, we did play it by ear.
There is an ARPA meeting scheduled from 1 to 2, but I don't know if we need to do anything. That might just be on the calendar,
yeah, that's probably.
but we can probably take that off.
It is 10:01. Let's just go back and start with, who wants to start? Roger?
All right, excellent. Good morning.
Good morning.
A few weeks ago, I'd asked Tammy to put us on the agenda for this morning, just to give you a little brief overview of why we're here. As you see, we're just here for discussion today. But I've asked Judge Sandy and also our County Attorney Todd Holmes to come and give some opinion and input on this topic as well. So one of the things that Judge Sandy had requested back in November, I believe it was when we met, was about courthouse security, specifically the third floor courtroom areas of the state offices. He directed me as sheriff to kind of look into this, and we kind of put a tentative plan together of trying to put together some type of a security plan in place by this coming November. So obviously, I advised him that I would try to look at some different options and bring some information to you and kind of educate you a little bit on what our requirements are or what my requirements are as a sheriff. But basically, our courthouse security is pretty relaxed. And when I say that, I mean, example, a half hour ago, I walked into the courthouse and I went all the way back to Judge Sandy's office. I went all the way back down to Judge Gale's office. I went through the courtrooms. I came down the second floor, in full uniform, obviously, but my point is I could go in his office without anybody even knowing I was there. And, I think we gotta do a little better job of providing security, not only for our court offices and courtroom offices, but for the entire, courthouse. One of the things that I'll pass out real quick before I ask Judge Sandy and Todd to give some input is we are required by law under chapter 331. And I'll give you each a copy of this. I apologize, I was gonna email this all to you and then I didn't get time, so I just brought you over copies. This is the law and I highlighted it, paragraph 4. It says that the duties of a sheriff is to provide bailiff or other law enforcement services to the district judge, district associate judges, and associate juvenile judges and judicial magistrates of the county upon request. So last November, Judge Sandy basically had a meeting with myself, Todd Holmes, Judge Gale was there, Chief of Police was there, and we talked about courtroom security, courthouse security, and one of the requirements of, in the past, either a judge or perhaps Todd would call over and say, hey, we've got a high-risk trial going on, or we've got a situation here where we might need some extra security, and we've always provided it either with a certified deputy or jail staff if there's an inmate involved, and we've always done that request. So I think today what we wanted to get started with is just kind of discuss and talk a little bit about where we might lack and what things we can do to improve with our security here at the courthouse. So Judge Sandy, if you want to address the board, and when he's done, then I've got some options and ideas that I'd like to present to you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and good to see everybody. I'm glad to be back again. I know that I spoke within the year and met a number of you, but I know there's some new faces, so I appreciate you having me. I'd say in about almost half of the counties in District 3A, which again is 10 counties in District 3A, there are law enforcement officers present for court service days. So court service days throughout a calendar year occur in some counties every Monday, but in most every other Monday. And those law enforcement officers are there to just make sure that if tempers boil over, that they're there to address it immediately, not a phone call away. In addition, they're there to kind of help manage the flow of the traffic that might be there. And I think most important, they provide somewhat of a deterrent effect. So folks know that if they're there and maybe want to do or say something that they otherwise would have when there's a service weapon and a badge in the courtroom, maybe they're not as brave. And I think that's helpful as well. So some of those counties have actual paid full-time law enforcement officers that are there. Some of them have hired, an old retired sheriff's deputy or perhaps city law enforcement guy, old state trooper, to come in and supplement some pay. And it's not a huge time commitment if it's that once every other week. And I've found that that's been invaluable. In the counties I rotate through that have that law enforcement officer there, things go so much smoother on court service days. I feel like the protection of the litigants who are there, as well as the court staff and the general public at large, is more safeguarded than otherwise would be. Exacerbating, and by the way, Kossuth, as you could imagine, that's why we're here, is not one of those counties that has that. That problem in Kossuth County, in my opinion, is exacerbated by the fact that of those 10 counties, I'd say 2 or 3 have a situation whereby there are no barriers to the judicial controlled spaces, and in particular, the chambers of the court, where my court reporter sits, where I sit. In other words, as the sheriff just articulated, you could walk unencumbered from the public hallway straight back to where my desk is without anybody stopping you, without needing a keypad to get in from one door to the next, without any type of security system in place. I can tell you that of the 10 counties, I think there's maybe one other that's like that. And so Kossuth, I would consider an outlier. As I explained to you earlier, Kossuth is my county. I'm administratively in charge or have been designated on behalf of the judicial branch to oversee Kossuth County. And so I put it on my agenda once I received that assignment that courthouse security here should be number 1 on my priority list to make sure that things occur. And finally, just as not to be melodramatic or anything of that sort, but I say it just because I think it really drove home my motivation in wanting to come to you today and talk with the sheriff. And that was within the past year or 2 here in Kossuth County, there was a murder-suicide that occurred with some young children in Algona, as many of you may know. Just that week, earlier that week, that individual had appeared before me in court. And, of course, I start thinking, what happens if it wasn't at the home, it was at the courthouse? And, we deal with unstable people sometimes in the court system. And that's not to denigrate their human dignity, but it's to recognize that sometimes the courtroom is the final protection from society. And knowing that, and knowing that the individuals that are coming through there with what's at stake, sometimes things are very tense, very, very tense. And when you add firearms into that situation with no screening mechanism or law enforcement present there, I think it's a recipe for disaster. And I guess where I'm coming from on behalf of the judicial branch is I'm going to be proactive, not reactive. And so if the sheriff and I can get on the same page here and put some procedures in place and have your blessing with some of that, I think that we're going to be in a much safer position. I think I feel more comfortable with the situation Kossuth might be in, and I hope the public, your citizens here in Kossuth County, feel more comfortable coming to court, knowing that we have those procedures in place. So that's my bit, but I'm here to answer any questions you might have for me or anything of that sort.
Okay. I would like to just educate you, especially for our members that just started here in January. This is a supervisory order that came out in December of 2017 by the Iowa Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Judge Katie. And this is just for information only. Obviously, you can shred this when you're done. But it basically talks about an order that was put out in June of 2017. And if I highlighted some of the important parts of it, it's a 5-page order. Obviously, you don't have to take time to read it all right now, but I highlighted on page 2 where the Chief Justice talks about the second paragraph. When Iowans believe their courthouses and court facilities are not safe, the integrity of the entire justice process is compromised and undermined. Courthouse security is inseparable from the concept of justice itself. I think that's kind of what he just touched on. Page 3, this is again in 2017, so I don't have the updated information, but in the second paragraph it said currently there are 72 counties that prohibit weapons in courtrooms and other judicial branch controlled spaces in the courthouses. These weapons prohibitions are issued by county ordinance or by an administrative order of the chief judge. 11 counties prohibit weapons in all county buildings. 44 counties prohibit weapons in a courthouse, and 16 counties prohibit weapons only in the areas of judicial branch controls. These weapon policies were implemented to make Iowa's courtrooms safer, but they have failed to provide uniform protection across the state throughout every courthouse. And then on page 4, where the justice starts to talk about what his ruling is, top paragraph says, we also understand that a weapons prohibition will not cure the problem of courtroom violence or the threat, particularly in those court facilities without entry point protocols to detect weapons. And that's us. We have nothing in place right now here in Kossuth County. Yet, a statewide weapons policy will establish a baseline standard that weapons in courtrooms must only be carried by law enforcement and court officers assigned to protect Iowa's courtrooms. And then the bottom paragraph, page 4, is where he actually makes his ruling. And it says, the Supreme Court now orders that all weapons are prohibited from courtrooms, court-controlled spaces, and public areas of courthouses and other justice centers occupied by the court system. Now, when this ruling went into effect, it took some heat, especially by gun right activists in the state of Iowa. So in December of 2017, Justice Katie revised this order. You're not gonna see that on here. The back paragraph, I just basically highlighted that law enforcement are exempt from this ruling. But in December, he came back and ruled that, okay, because Iowa, you have rights to carry, now Iowa's a constitutional carry state where a person can carry a firearm. Instead of restricting the public areas of the courthouse, he's gonna leave that up to the board of supervisors in each county. So you as a board can request the chief judge in this district to allow weapons in and out of your courthouse and public areas, but you can restrict it because of this order, other areas of the courtroom. For example, you can restrict it from the 3rd floor, which we currently have. But I will tell you that you gotta walk all the way up to the 3rd floor and turn the corner to go into the courtroom before you see a sign that says no weapons allowed. Or you gotta walk into the attorney's rooms where they can visit with their clients before you see a sign. So we probably need to do a better job of signage, so that when you walk in the courthouse, you know that you can't go on the 3rd floor with a weapon. So this is just kind of educate you about what had happened 5 years ago, and it was revised, but it's now in your authority if you want to restrict it or not. You can restrict weapons from the entire courthouse if you want, or you can allow it in the public areas except for the restricted areas, which we would have to make a decision on. That part of it is kind of just letting you know of where we stand. I do know, and I think that a lot of the departments head here in the courthouse would agree with me, that we could probably do a much better job. And I'm gonna give you some suggestions of what we can do down the road. But what I wanna hand out for you now is some of the options that I came up with. And I know Judge Sandy already talked about some of the other courthouses have perhaps a retired officer or a bailiff on duty. And I'm not quite sure between Todd and Judge Sandy can maybe tell me how many days a week they feel that we should probably have somebody up on the 3rd floor. Basically what I wanna do is take this advantage to educate you a little bit about, if I'm required as a sheriff to do this, we're gonna have to take some serious look at what options are available to us, because I don't have the manpower right now. And I'll explain that to you through this option that I wanna share with you. This is just strictly some pages of notes that I put together to kind of tell you a little bit about what some of the options that we can look at and some of the ideas that we can look at as far as courthouse security options. And again, this is just discussion only. Option 1 I put together is that we can hire a part-time bailiff, perhaps 2 to 3 days a week. But I put an opinion right below that. This person would still need to be firearm certified and or meet all mandatory training requirements as a certified officer. Due to the liability that we put ourselves in as a county, I don't wanna have somebody up here that's a bailiff carrying a firearm and they're not certified in it or qualified in it, or would have to fall under our liability. There's a thing called LEOSA, Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act. It's a federal law that allows retired peace officers to carry a firearm anywhere in the United States. So if we would look at that option and look at hiring retired officers, they would fall under that LEOSA, and then we would have to get together a policy as a county to decide how we want that person trained. I personally feel that they would have to be trained under the same liabilities of a certified officer, because if there is an active shooter that would happen in the county courthouse, we'd wanna make sure that the person over here is well-trained and qualified to, meet those needs. I just put together some figures there. The cost, right now, our current deputies make $31.92, so what we would hire a bailiff at would be up to you guys. I put together the cost there for hours per week, per month, per year. I can tell you that the average bailiff in the state of Iowa makes $50,000 full-time. Nebraska is $59,000, Illinois is $50,000, and Minnesota is $47,000. So those are just some figures that I'll put together for you. The pros of this is that it would meet the court's request. We could consider retired officers if we needed to. The cons is that it would be difficult to provide with our current staff. We'd still have to fill with sick and vacation time. And if we did have to use our current staff, I'm afraid it would be pretty much pure overtime that we'd have to offer for our off-duty officers to come over and do court services. Option two. Now this is where I'm gonna throw together some things that I'm gonna address you guys at negotiation time anyway for my budget. But option two is we can hire a full-time deputy, provide that part-time services to the court when it's requested, perhaps 2 to 3 days a week, and provide that security. What I would have to do then is add an additional rotation into our current schedule. And you can read this, so I won't go word for word, but our current schedules are, we work day shifts 6 to 4, mids 4 to 2, lates 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., and then we have an officer that's always on a float shift. That officer covers for people that are either sick, vacation time, or gone to training. For example, I got an officer leaving in February, we'll be gone for 2 weeks to get a certification through the Deputy Grimm that we hired through Wyoming. He's now gotta go to the academy and get his Iowa certification. So we always have a float car to cover those shifts. If we hired an additional deputy, then I would just add a courthouse security rotation into our current schedule. So then our deputies would rotate between days, mids, lates, floats, courthouse security. And then we would always have someone available whenever the courts or the judges would require that security. The pros would be that we'd be able to provide part-time security with a full-time certified officer. The cons would that it would increase the responsibility of an already short-staffed sheriff's office. Next page, option 3, the sheriff's office could look at hiring 2 to 3 additional deputies to provide full-time security at a courthouse. With 2 additional deputies, we'd be able to provide 5 days a week for courthouse security and additional coverage. When I say courthouse security, I'm talking about not only for the 3rd floor, but we have an officer here Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30. So provide security for the entire building. Obviously in the courtroom when there are court cases going on, and when there are no court cases like today where there's nothing going on upstairs, then that officer will be available for security everywhere. With 3 additional deputies, we'd also be able to provide 5 days a week for courthouse security and additional coverage for county and schools. The pros is that we would be able to provide full-time courthouse security. We would allow for additional shift coverage for communities in our schools, and we would assist in covering the largest county with 974 square miles and 12 communities served. The cons, of course, is a budget increase. But on my sheet, I put in a question mark because is that really a con? Because we are short-staffed. One of the things that I will try to educate you on is that the national average is 1 officer per 500 people in population. So if you do the math in your head, Kossuth County has 15,000 people, just a little under 15,000 people. We should have 1 officer per 500, that's the national average. City of Algona meets that average. They have about 5,000 population and they've got 10 certified officers. So if you do the math, they've got 1 officer for every 500 people. The county, we have 10 officers for about 10,000 population. So we're half of what we should be at. And I only bring that up is because we have 1,000 square miles, but we also have 12 communities that we serve, and we have the same number of officers that the city of Algona has for about 4 square miles and 1/3 of the people. So we are short-staffed. When I say to people that, hey, we're the only entity that's open 24 hours a day, I'm not being disrespectful to other public entities. I'm telling you that we have to cover 12 communities, 1,000 square miles, with 10 officers, me being one of them, doing the administrative duties. That leaves me 9 officers to cover this area. So one of the things that I would like to look at if we're gonna take this seriously is let's not only provide courtroom security, but let's look at increasing my ability as a sheriff to provide courthouse security and bring this into the rotation where we can have an officer. I've met with my staff, I've talked to all the deputies, none of them are fired up about having to come over and, hey, I didn't know my law enforcement career was gonna be sitting in a courthouse Monday through Friday. But when I explained to them that we put it into a rotation, then they're more open and acceptable to it. In other words, you wouldn't have the same officer here every day. We would have to rotate it just like we do our normal shifts of coverage. So these are just some ideas and thoughts that I wanted to bring across to you guys. The last page is just yours for information. Cause I figured one of the questions you might have to me is, well, what would that cost? So I won't go through this page, but it's pretty well self-explanatory. The ink in the black tells you what it costs right now per deputy, and that's wages, life insurance, uniforms, meetings, mileage, vehicles, FICA, IPERS, health insurance, everything included. If you look in the second column per deputy, that totals about $131,000 per deputy per year, and that's with this current year. That's not including what's coming up for any possible raises. So if you look at that in the red, if you add 1, you're looking at 130. If you add 2, you're looking at 260. If you add 3, you're looking at 393,000. And then on the bottom, I just kind of put what it would add to our total group for uniform services for patrol deputies. This is all just informational. You know, I'm bringing it to you because I know that Judge Sandy has brought it to my attention about what we can do for courthouse security. And my thought is, we can do better not only in our courthouse, but we can do better for the whole county. And if I'm gonna be required to provide security here in the courthouse as a sheriff, because that piece of paper I handed out to you that says the sheriff shall do so when a judge requests it, then I need help. I'm gonna have to we're gonna have to look at seriously hiring bailiffs that are under my control, or we're gonna have to look at adding deputies and then incorporate it into that. Couple other real quick things that we can do pretty easy. I think we can look at putting keyless entry locks into our 3rd floor. So when Judge Sandy comes to work, he can punch a code to go into his offices, and it keeps the general public out of it. As I said this morning, I walked all over where I wanted to. We could put keyless entries, $200 to $300 per door, not that expensive.
No, it's 2,000 to 3,000, I think.
Yeah, so what we looked at, Tammy and I have been working on that for the server rooms and the election building. Key card system, so all the doors are the same, it's $2,500 per door. And then we assign cards as needed and revoke cards as needed. So you don't ever have the code that.
Well, apparently I searched the wrong area because I found them for $300, so they must not be very good ones.
Well, it could be a key code option, but then it's programmed per door, and so you have to go to each door to program them, and then the code never changes. So you have to, it's a lot more maintenance than a key card where you just scan it and it's good for all the doors. So his office could be 1, 2, 3, 4, the server room could be 5, 6, 7, 8, hers could be 9, 10, 11, 12. So you have to have a whole list that you would carry around to be able to get into those doors. So,
Gotcha. So obviously that's something that our IT department and we can look at to provide better security, because right now there's nothing. I think Todd brought up a good point quite a few months ago, that really all we have right now is cameras to record the activity so we can help prosecute it, and panic buttons. So we do need to look at better options, and that's one thing, is securing our doors to private areas that the general public should not have access to. Signage, I think we need to do a better job of signage. Right now, even with the current standard, you're not allowed to have firearms in the 3rd floor, but you gotta walk all the way up to the 3rd floor and turn the corner before you know that, as a general public. It should be posted on the front door, no firearms, 3rd floor of the courthouse. Or if we decide to prohibit it everywhere, that's something we'd have to make a decision on the signage. And then the doors are another big thing, and I thought that.
Roger, what do you think about additional signs like here as you turn the stairs?
Yes.
Right there.
Depending on what we decide to do as a county, if we wanna prohibit them completely from all public areas, or if we just wanna prohibit it from, 3rd floor, then we need to have signage better than what we have now, because if I'm, a disgruntled citizen, or if I'm not from Kossuth County, but I've been directed to come here to court, and I'm carrying a firearm because I have the constitutional right, I'm not aware that I can't have it on the 3rd floor until I get to the 3rd floor and turn the corner. Then all of a sudden it's, oh, I'm not supposed to have a firearm there. So we need to do a better job of signage.
I think that should be on the front, on the doors, that no firearms on the 3rd floor, because then that gives people the opportunity before they even walk in, that they go,
oh, I know I'm going to the third floor, I better go put this back in my car.
Yeah,
Versus getting in, going, you know, to the stairs and going, oh, now I gotta go all the way back down and out.
I would say both, I would say
Yeah,
doors
yeah.
and
No, we would
a
do better.
reminder there as well as additional signs upstairs, but.
Right. And Todd, did you wanna add anything to this today, or?
I would just be repeating everything you said. You know, the only thing that I would bring up is, not too long ago, we had an individual escape custody, who had made, significant threats, very, very serious threats to, a couple members of, our community and then also to, a judge. And at that point in time, our response was to have a deputy in the courthouse for the 5 days of the week. I think with that is evidence that those threats can occur. We're not insulated from them. We've had some serious crimes happen in our county that evidences that, you know, that threat is real. In talking to several of the people in the courthouse, you know, that added security provided some comfort. So in looking at it from the standpoint of what we can do, I think that's something that we can do to provide in whatever, you know, the board decides as far as to go forward with that. But we can provide not only security and safety to the best of our ability for the people who work here, but also the people that come here to do business. And by and large, our county courthouse serves everybody in the county at some point in time. They come into the courthouse for some reason or another, and it may not be just the third floor. It may be the main floor or going to the lower level. So I think, you know, it should be at least something you should strongly look into and consider. What you do obviously is within your power as it fits within the budget, but you know, I support that courthouse security.
And Judge Sandy, you can maybe correct me if I'm not remembering, but didn't we discuss in November that we kinda like to have something in place here within this year?
Yeah,
November of this year?
right.
That's why we're here now, because we know it's budget time and we kinda wanna have something in place by this fall.
That's exactly right. And, you know, not only for the staffing of court service days with the law enforcement officer, but also to the issues of IT coordinating the doors. I will admit some courthouses with the secured doors are more sophisticated than others. So for example, Cherokee, I actually have an app on my phone that I just scan and it beeps and I go into my chambers. Palo Alto, I have to press the key code, like was mentioned, and I just keep it in my cell phone. So every time I'm in, because I forget my numbers, every time I'm in the courthouse, I pull up courthouse Emmitsburg. There it is. Okay, there's my key code, and I go in. And, you know, every door has that, and every door there, well, maybe I shouldn't say too much because they may breach the security in Palo Alto County if we're recording. But my point is it's a little less sophisticated, that system, but probably cheaper, you know, no doubt. Dickinson County, for example, has an integrated key fob system where I put my key fob on my keychain and it automatically lets me in and that type of thing. So, but those are things that need to occur now if you want to see them implemented, you know, by year end, those types of things. So, yeah.
My question, do you limit weapons or just guns?
Well, the original ruling said limited to all public areas of a courthouse. But then that was revised in December that it was the Board of Supervisors could put a written request to the Chief Justice of that district to allow firearms in public areas. Public areas would be all the door entries and all the hallways, except the third floor where state offices are. All firearms are prohibited from the state offices.
I've seen like Fort Dodge, they take your pocket knife away too, when you go through the scanner. Maybe
Yeah, and we've done that in the past when we've had a homicide trial. We've set up metal detectors and we've asked people to remove things from their pockets and stuff like that. But and you know, we can get metal detectors in that $5,000 range that are portable, that we can move them around if we needed to. I've kind of often wanted to get one for back at the jail, but we've never done it. And some of them are accessible where you can pack it up in the suitcase and bring it over for the courthouse if you've got a trial going on or you need access for that. But I think the number one priority obviously should be securing our doors to our private areas of the courthouse, especially the third floor where somebody can't just walk into any one of the judge's offices or chambers or, when we have trials going on, we try to protect the jury from public view and having access to potential witnesses. And that's even difficult when you can't restrict the general public from going in and out of all the doorways back there. So, and we got the stairway back here on the east side of the courthouse where you can go up to gain access to any floor. You know, and won't be, I don't even know if there's cameras in that stairway, I honestly don't know.
The only other courthouse that I had talked about that didn't, I said there were 2 or 3 where there was just unencumbered access to judicial chambers. One of them was Emmett County, but Sheriff Martin's just implemented door lock security. I haven't been there yet on that rotation, so I don't know how he did it, but you can't do that anymore in Emmett. And then Osceola County and Sibley is an issue. You can go right through. But by way of an example, I was in Emmett County a few months ago and had made my ruling from the bench, and I went back into chambers, and all of a sudden I look up and there's a gentleman there who was in the courtroom from the hearing, and he goes, right decision, and just kind of gave me the thumbs up, you know, that I made the right decision. I said, well, thank you, and he walked out, and I got to admit, when he looked at me, there was a second where I thought, I'm not coming home tonight. You know, my court reporter kind of came in and she goes, I'm so sorry I didn't see him walk by. I go, I mean, this is, yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, it's just, and the other thing by way of an example is part of it's the rural nature of things where, you know, I get that. But when I talk to other judges from Des Moines and Iowa City and Cedar Rapids and Ames, I mean, their jaws drop. I mean, they're just like, seriously? I go, yeah, I mean, put it this way, when you go to the Supreme Court building in Des Moines, right across from the legislator, I as a judge get wanded, empty my pockets like I'm going through TSA at the airport for me to even enter my own judicial building as a judicial officer. And so I bring that up not because I'm saying we need to run this place like Fort Knox, but there's probably a middle ground here. And that's kind of what I'm asking for, is some reasonable common sense things that we can do that I think hopefully will fit within a budget and not be too onerous on the taxpayers, but at the same time achieve what we need to achieve in terms of everybody's safety.
And then I'll add to that, I agree 100% with everything you just said, but I'll add to that is, I'm also looking at this and what we can do better for Kossuth County, because we are short-staffed in the sheriff's office. Our neighboring counties have the same amount of deputies as Kossuth County. We've got, you guys know, we're double county, population-wise and everything, so. And I'm 100% behind providing whatever security we can for the courthouse, but I can't do it with my current staff. For example, we've got murder removals going on, we've got other things that my day officer's involved in, investigations. Every week I could come up here with a list of things that our day officer is busy doing, and there's no way I could put him over here for all-day security if there's a trial or something like that going on. And I don't think the people elected me as a sheriff to come over and sit in the courthouse every day either for security. I can't run a department and provide that, so. I do agree, we could probably find some middle ground there somewhere, and one of the priorities would probably be looking into the door locks for sure, so that the general public can't just walk around. Today, when I went up there, Taylor finally came out and said, can I help you, or are you looking for somebody? I said, no, I just wanted to see what I had access to, and I had access everywhere. So it's something that we need to probably certainly address. Any questions?
Well, I had a chance to meet with the sheriff when we were down at ISAC, and I just kind of talked to him about things that he's doing for security at his, you know, courthouse. And basically what he did was they hired a retired officer as a full-time courthouse security. He is certified in he said he goes and shoots with them, so, you know, he's fully certified, but he's stationed in the courthouse, you know, every day, and that is basically what he was hired to do, as a deputy. And the way that they kind of covered for like the bailiff and stuff like that is that he would go up to the courtroom, you know, to provide bailiff services. And the way they would keep the security of the building is he had a tablet that had access to all the cameras in the building. So while he's, sitting at the entrance and stuff, he can see what's going on up on the 3rd floor. Or if he's up in the courthouse providing bailiff services, he had access to those cameras so he could see what's going on in the entrances and stuff like that too. Now, that was just something that he kind of suggested, and it sounded, like a viable option to, kind of help meet that middle ground. So, and then in the times of absence, being absent from the courthouse, they would rotate one of the guys off of, the road and things like that. So there was, some good discussion on that.
In Iowa, you lose your certification as a peace officer when you reach age 66. But through that LEOSA, Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act, a retired officer is allowed to carry a firearm. But what I'm saying, I don't know if the sheriff explained it to you or not, but you'd still want that person to be qualified, trained, everything under our policy, because if an incident occurred, it's gonna fall back on Kossuth County.
And that's exactly what
Whether or not that person is trained, qualified,
Yeah, he was fully qualified as a deputy, and he was under him, so.
And the other point you brought up, which is an excellent point, we currently have the cameras in our dispatch center, in our sheriff's office. But again, we have to rely a lot on, is there a city officer available if our deputy's 40 miles away? Or is there somebody available to come over? And I talked briefly with Derek that if we did look at this option to have an officer over here, that we could easily set up an office area or an area where they could view cameras, or whether we put it on a laptop or something like that, that's fine. But that's why I presented you with all these options. Option 1 is get a bailiff. But obviously the one I support is option 3, where we can increase deputies, not only for the courthouse, but for the entire county. And it's something that we haven't done since 1987, is the last time that the county seriously looked at increasing their deputies when they hired 2 additional. And then about 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, we hired an additional deputy to bring us up to 9. And that person was put into a supervisor position, and then that's when I got elected sheriff. I eliminated that because we need patrol deputies, not administrators. And we're still short. And in all reality, we're short 4 officers if we look at the per capita. We really are, especially when you look at counties around us that have the same number for the less size. But any other questions on this, or any direction you want me to go? But I know in order to meet what Judge Sandy's talked to me about, I think at some point we need to make a decision on what options we want to look at first, whether it's directing IT to look at what we can do to secure doors or better signage. I'll take your direction on it, but this is something that he's made a priority, and now I've made it a priority since he's requested it.
Jared, we're working on doors for.
Yep, so I budgeted for 4 doors for IT, so the server rooms and then our office. Tammy, I think, is budgeted for 6 doors for over at her election center.
So how many doors upstairs?
0. I didn't budget for
How
any.
many do we need upstairs is what we need to get to Derek?
So there's
5.
there's one door that's a double door,
Right.
okay? And so if that was secured, you would not have access to anything obviously beyond that double door. And then there's a door that leads back to the conference rooms where attorneys are, but those hallways are all interconnected. So I would think at least 2, but without doing an inventory, it might be more like 3.
So what I was envisioning is the door from the courtroom back to the reporter area, the main hallway door, and the door getting back to your area in the back, and the chain or the conference rooms.
And the courtroom door.
And the courtroom door, and then the door to the clerk workers, and then the door to the other courtroom as well, so.
Do you need to take an inventory? Because there's also a door behind my bench, when I'm in the courtroom. It's the escape door, right?
I
But
didn't budget for any of that, so.
We're up to about 6 doors.
And I didn't
Yeah.
in the courthouse.
Yeah.
And since we just have it on for discussion today, I think this is all good information, but yeah, I mean, I'd say there's some next steps, and look at a few more things and
So,
come back here.
so who wants to do the inventory of the doors? Do you wanna make a recommendation to IT?
I can go up after this.
We can walk up there and
Yeah.
give you the list.
Okay, and then IT will come back to us and we'll.
Sure.
Cause I think that's the first thing we should do right away is try to get some doors secured.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that'd be a good first step.
And as far as you, Roger, I look at it that really an extra deputy is probably the best way to go. And you want two, but I'd like you to think about
Oh, I'd like
putting
three.
that over a period of years
I
and not
understand.
dump that all on us at one time.
I understand. That's why I gave you the information, just so you can see what it would cost. And obviously, that's this year's budget, so.
See, if you could roll that in over a couple of years, that would sure help us doing the budget and trying to cut corners elsewhere.
But if we added one deputy, I would look seriously at just adding it into our rotation.
Yes.
So that we would be able to provide when there's court days going on, that we could just have a deputy come into the courthouse security.
So let me speak briefly to the frequency, right? Because that might help you gentlemen decide, okay, well, why not, if it's once every other week, I mean, so I'm not micromanaging how you all decide the best way to achieve the security, but there's gonna be a court service day at least, a district court service day, at least every other Monday. In addition, there's a district associate day, so that's Judge Gales. I believe at least every week, Todd, but help me out, because I don't preside over that.
So the motion days, which are on Mondays, every Monday we have a motion day, whether it's district court or district associate court. Then the magistrate, which would also be now under the district associate jurisdiction, would be on Wednesdays. And then the magistrate trial dates and court days fall on every other Friday. But then in between those Fridays, there's juvenile court day, so juvenile court is the second and fourth Friday of each month, and magistrate court day is the first and third Friday of every month. So in essence, you're looking at generally 3 days a week.
And so I wanted that to come out to you, so you understood that, you know, if the thought is, well, we just need a retired guy once every other week for a few hours, it's probably gonna be more extensive than that. And I would say this, those juvenile days on behalf of Judge Gales, those are DHS cases with families that are having children removed oftentimes from the home. Those can be just as situationally difficult.
Well, the last time that we had, sorry Judge, didn't
Go ahead.
interrupt you, but the last time that we had a court situation that the panic button was pushed was on a juvenile court day. And you know, a lot of people don't understand what juvenile court is, and it is dealing with obviously children where emotions can be high with parents. But we also, you know, in situations where they're warranted, we terminate parental rights, which is a very, very intense emotional situation in several of the cases we deal with. So, you know, there's, as Judge pointed out, we deal with a lot of things that have finality to them, and you know, emotions when they play a part, with the possibility of a firearm going unnoticed, could be a catastrophic situation. You know, not to mention everybody knows, you know, when you get convicted of, you know, first degree murder, you go to prison for life. Okay, that's pretty final. And so the emotions on that level, on that floor, can be quite high. So that's, I think, why we're here in figuring out a way to try to address that. Deterrence is the thing. You know, that's obviously you're not gonna be able to prevent it from ever happening, but deterrence, I think, is something that is the goal here. As Roger pointed out, I've said to many people, I mean, the cameras and the panic button, all of which are great. We've hit the panic button a few times and response is very quick. But you know, that doesn't necessarily prevent someone from something happening. It does allow for, you know, evidence as to what happened. But I think looking at it from our ALICE training and our things regarding active shooters, it's a way that we can be, as Judge mentioned, proactive as opposed to reactive.
And that's why I threw that third option in there, because we also have schools in our county that are requesting school resource officers or some type of security. And I've explained to them that with our current staff, that wouldn't be possible. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we also have civil matters that come up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know a couple days ago, we had a civil matter that was questionable on whether we needed security up there. And so there's also civil trials that occur on occasion that can get heated or
Sure.
have problems with.
Judge, I don't know if you can add to this, but it appears in most situations, it's the civil family law matters that tend to be quite hostile.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I mean, I've been more afraid of folks on an estate dispute amongst siblings than I ever have been with a criminal defendant. So, take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, been one of our drainage meetings.
No, yeah, I mean, so you guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, you know, so you guys know what I'm talking about. It's when you add money and family into things and litigation. I mean, it's boy, it's something. So I mean, you just can't you can't have a situation where folks aren't protected.
Well, Roger comes and sits in on our drainage meetings once in a while. and
Occasionally,
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, I'm talking courtroom specifically because that's my thing. But you know, obviously, this is why Roger and I think, hit it off, and we're like, hey, you know, there's things here. There's a lot of overlap here where it's not just a courtroom thing. There could be a mutually beneficial, a strategic way you all can deal with this, so that you can kill, you know, a lot of birds with one stone potentially. And actually save money in the long run if you do it right. So that's kind of, you know, I leave that to you all. That's none of my business. And but
it's deterrence is a benefit, and one of the first things I did when I was elected is I don't know if you guys have gone over there after 4 o'clock, but you now can't enter into our dispatch area or main office area lobby after 4 p.m. without being buzzed in by the dispatcher. And just that little extra added security gave some of our employees that are there 24 hours a day that peace of mind of knowing that if somebody's irate and coming in upset about something, they got locked doors that they're gonna have to try to bust through before they can get into the other part of the facility. So I think that's a good first step. We can just look at some ways of securing our doors and protecting some of our, not only our state employees, but our county employees as well.
Roger, I have a quick question. You mentioned last time we hired additional deputies was 1987.
That's when I was hired. Two additional deputies.
Okay. Since that time also, there would have been a large amount of reserves at the time too, correct? Which we don't have now.
Correct. We had 22 active reserves back in the late 80s.
Right.
And now we currently have 4.
Right.
And one of them is employed in the courthouse. He works here in the second floor of the courthouse, but we're down to 4. And the biggest reason why, and I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody, but it was just allowed to kind of deteriorate as people retired, got off of it. They never got replaced. And right now, it's probably more of a budget issue on whether or not we want to increase it back up, because every officer we put on there, even if they're reserve, we still got to equip them and train them and all that, so. But yeah, I mean, are you asking if we could utilize the reserve?
Well, I just know that's another factor there that.
Yeah, and that's a good option, but unfortunately, most of them have full-time jobs.
Right.
So that I don't know that they could pull away from them to come to courthouse security.
But it's a good point comparison wise from
Yes.
then till now.
It's just, just from the standpoint that we had the same amount of officers plus 22 reserves to today, I mean, that's a
We
lot.
used to have 4 reserves come out every weekend and work.
Right.
Back in the 80s.
And I know a couple of them, I've talked to them.
And now that option's no longer there.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Any other questions? I know we took up a lot of your time, so.
Put it on your
I think
budget
that's
when you
good.
bring it
Yeah,
in.
and I'll go upstairs now if you have time. We'll
Yeah.
go and look at how many doors and what we can do.
Wanna go
there.
with them, Derek?
Yeah.
thank you, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Let's go back to, let's see.
Can you guys skip over the ARPA thing while I'm upstairs, I'd like to finish that.
Okay, we'll wait.
Finish on it.
We'll go to, Doug sitting here.
Where's Doug here?
Yeah.
Oh, he is here.
Doug, are you ready?
Sure. Well, good morning, everyone.
First thing, construction in the road right away,
There is no request for construction of the road right away.
and then we got discussion with county engineer.
Yes, the bridge construction down in Irvington, The contractor has pretty much cleaned up everything. In order to construct guardrail, we need to build some area for the guardrail to stand. With last week's snowfall, we are still cleaning up. Today, we're hoping tomorrow we could do that. There's snow in the forecast for tomorrow, so we're gonna see what happens. Even if we get those constructed, the contractor now has told us that the subcontractor that does that work, all of his equipment is operated by air and airlines and has a lot of things that freeze. We're looking at alternatives to putting guardrail up temporarily to allow traffic through there. We'll see what happens, I guess, but hopefully soon people will be driving over that bridge. Still have an open position at the mechanic shop that needs to be filled. Last week we had a snow event, very difficult, challenging snow. We had multiple times where plows were stuck and plows were going to help pull those plows, which takes plows away from plowing. We worked 11 hours on Thursday and 5 o'clock till 4 o'clock on Friday. And we're getting intersections and those types of things cleaned out yesterday and today. We did have a motor grader that went down with some sort of an issue. The engine is being pulled. I think we're gonna pull a cam, see if some rollers or if the cam is something is in there. It's not a catastrophic event, we don't believe, but we do need to pull the cam.
So that one was down on Friday.
That went down.
Thursday, I'm sorry, yeah. Or was that in the Algona shop or?
No, that was not.
Okay.
I think that went down Friday when he was out. I don't remember, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So that kind of sums up everything with the engineer, secondary roads. Excuse me. You may or may not know Don Reefer passed away last week. Don was the owner of B&W, who had been doing our roads spraying for quite some time. It's not the right time to ask what's going on, but something's gonna have to change, obviously. When the time comes around, I will be visiting with somebody about that, but usually by this time we have B&W ready to spray our roadsides at this time. Obviously, we're not. I was supposed to be talking with Don, in fact, and tragedy happened. So obviously condolences out to his family and friends, and we'll move forward from there. Next week, I'll be getting a new hearing scheduled for ordinance, so by next week, I hope to have all that taken care of. We still need one member for the Board of Adjustment, 2 members for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I'm getting ready for Waste Management, getting something scheduled for their annual meeting. So that's kind of everything that I'm doing right now, and our office and our department.
Talking about waiving diversity for boards.
I did see something on the, some bills introduced, so.
So maybe that'll help.
Which even the way it currently is, there's still a time frame. I mean,
Yeah.
you're well past the time frame for looking into diversity.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the Board of Supervisors is responsible for appointing those board members, so.
We tried to add diversity to them, but it's tough.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
It's hard to find people, period, that be willing to do it. So.
yes, it is.
Anything else?
I do not.
Thank you.
When will you be discussing the handbook, I guess? I would like to, sit in on that, I guess. I don't know if it's now, or if you could call me up when.
Why don't you just stick around, cause we can, what do
We
you
may,
got?
I mean, we just had it on for review, so we may not do anything with it today since it's already 11.
Why don't we skip over your agenda item? What do you wanna do? You mean the handbook, you wanna forget about it today?
Yeah, I mean, we can probably just push that
For next week, or?
either next week or a couple weeks, I mean, it don't matter.
I don't know what was being discussed, I guess.
I don't either.
I just put it on as a point that we had talked about reviewing it and looked at some things, and with our conversations at ISAC, just figured it'd be something to have on the agenda to review. So there was nothing in particular, but just general discussion item.
Maybe do we wanna move it to next week and I'll make sure to take a closer look at the handbook and read through things.
Well,
Again,
somebody, we have to put something in the record, cause it was on the agenda.
right.
Just no action taken, I mean,
So just put in a record that no action was taken on the handbook issue. So we wanna continue with,
we were in the middle of auditor discussion.
yeah, we wanna go back up to decision on supervisor committee appointments. You put that on the agenda too, Kyle, I don't know what.
Could I just bring one, it is on the agenda, but just a reminder, tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. The
Yes.
collective bargaining.
Yep.
Thank
you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
So what,
Tammy, did you have stuff you wanna finish, or do you remember where?
Yeah, just go ahead and go on and I can.
yeah, so we're doing the supervisor appointments, committee appointments, what was the issue?
So, from conversations at, ISAC, there was one of the big things, I guess, probably the required one, is in regards to EMA. We have, you and Josh on right now for emergency management and the code section. I don't believe that we can have two side by side, I think we have to have a delegate and an alternate specified. So that's one we will need to change to be in compliance, I guess.
What do you mean, Kyle, where it says delegate and alternate here?
Well,
No,
so
it doesn't
Emergency
have.
Management Commission, it shows Roger and Josh.
I looked.
We're supposed to
I
have-
looked at 911, my bad.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, no, we're supposed to have a delegate and an alternate.
I see what you're saying.
But I was also going to, potentially discuss there was a NIACOG, something that was related to NIACOG that I was listed as,
That's me, I'm the alternate.
okay, I am the alternate for the Regional Response Commission. For some reason, I was thinking I was the delegate on that.
You take all the NIACOG committees, we meet at the same time in
Yep.
Mason City. So-
Yeah,
So
that's why I
whoever
was-
has that one should have all of them, otherwise we're gonna have too many people driving to Mason City.
Yeah.
Cause we do them one right after the
Correct.
other,
I
they're
remember
only
you
like
talking about
20
that.
minutes long.
So,
But that
I guess
was
that would
never,
make
the motion was never made for that though, so.
For what?
To
Which one?
change anything that was decided at the first meeting.
Well, according to, Mr. Stecker, that it should be emergency management should either
Right,
be
I get that,
Roger
but,
or Josh.
Yeah.
Whoops.
but there was nothing there, if you talked about that later, about having it the same, there was nothing officially determined for that.
I was online during this time, and I didn't catch everything, but so are both of you an equal delegate?
That's what the
which
motion
is what
was.
it's listed,
It was-
but
yeah.
according to the code, it cannot be
Yeah.
that way.
Oh, okay, I see.
And I would like to be the delegate on that one.
Do you wanna be the delegate on, NICOG board too? Cause they kinda go together, and the transportation board, cause they're all come underneath. The delegate for emergency management sits in on, hazardous committee that meets in Mason City the same time that you meet with the transportation committee. They kinda all go together.
That wouldn't be the same appointment though, right?
Yeah, well, it isn't now, but we should have it so that emergency management, NICOG, and North Iowa.
Regional response.
No, and the transportation,
Transportation policy.
Oh,
yeah, policy delegate are all the same person because you meet in the same room in
They're all the same
Mason
day.
City at the same time, and one person, you go from one to the next.
But the Emergency Management Commission would be EMA here, they don't go over to the Mason City ones, do they?
Yeah, we do. We go over for the hazmat part of it. So that's part of the hazmat training. And
so our county emergency management goes over to Mason City to have their commission meetings,
No,
their
No,
board
you
meetings?
have the
That's what we're
hazmat,
asking.
you have the hazmat meeting,
Yeah.
and the delegate goes to the hazmat meeting. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Did, need something, or,
Well, let's wait for the ARPA stuff to go,
Yeah.
but you,
Well, I think we're waiting for Derek.
yeah, well,
I know.
So Josh, if you want, why don't you be the alternate this year? Next year, why don't you be the delegate and do all of them?
I don't feel like they were that combined before.
Yeah.
So as a supervisor, do you sit in on the, I mean, do we have our own county board EMA
Yeah, we have a
meetings
county
in,
board.
in Algona?
Yep.
Right, and then in addition to, you go to the hazmat meetings in Mason City. Is that,
So that can be separate, you don't have to be the same person to do the hazmat one.
Yeah, I didn't think they were
No,
okay,
tied together before.
no, you don't have to be, you just need a supervisor representative.
I see what you're saying.
but we don't have an additional one listed, right?
No.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, so that'd probably be okay to be separate, I mean, there's other, like the workforce and economic development, that's kind of why I want to be alternate on that, because they were tied together generally, but they're still separate entities that way.
Is this something that we can even change?
Yeah.
Prior to, oh, it is, okay, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's on the agenda.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of like Carter's on Care Connection.
Yeah.
And, you know, really, North Iowa Community Action works with Care Connections, they kind of go together.
Yep.
Which, so there's that, Tammy mentioned it for the agenda next week, Veterans Affairs, they were talking about,
Adding board members.
going to 5.
Yeah, nice, or
So-
nice that they talked about that.
Yep, I have that written down here. On the workforce board that I'm on, I don't know how much detail to get into here, because it's still kind of early in the discussions and it will potentially go quick. But recently, I think it was Friday last week, Western region had a meeting. They have 18 counties, 11 were there. And they had started discussions within the last couple weeks to dissolve the 2080 and not participate in the workforce system through the federal and state government because of a multitude of reasons. And I was contacted by Craig Anderson from Plymouth County about it. We've had several conversations now, and actually yesterday afternoon, we had a meeting about that, and from our region and the other one that was potentially combining, there's quite a bit of consideration for dissolving it for us as well. So that may change for me, but we don't have an answer yet. So those were a couple highlights, I guess. And I didn't bring it up when we approved the minutes, but the EMS board, we had talked about doing that together, Roger, so I don't know if you wanna make changes to that now or not, but
Well,
I'd
we have-
definitely like to be involved there, cause I think that'll be a big transition period this year.
We are in kind of in the middle of getting our bylaws and everything else done.
Yeah,
Right now, I'm the chairman because Chairman Dave is not in it anymore. He was the chairman.
oh, okay, that,
So if you want to change, I don't care.
I would be very interested in that again, cause I was on it for quite a while, and that's something I spent a lot of time on and have a passion for.
I mean, he went down to the Capitol to raise the issues on the EMS stuff, so I think he would, he's got a lot more contacts in that regard too, so.
Yeah, I mean, Carter went with, but I guess you saw the conversations we had, and I thought that was very productive.
Oh, I went very well. So what is the action we're taking, or?
Well, the changes in general, so I guess whatever we collectively agree to, but
I wanna take on the EMA commission as delegate. And then,
The Emergency Management Commission,
yes,
you go in alternate on that, Roger? Just so we clarify the two of you that way.
we ever have an alternate before on
yeah,
it? We did.
Yeah, I think we have. I don't know about, I don't know about recent history, but
That's how it should be laid out though.
yeah, it probably should be clarified that way. We have alternates on most of the other ones. I think it's good practice to have an alternate in general. What do you think, Carter?
That's up to you guys, I mean, if, how you wanna order that.
You'll have to make a motion. to
Yeah.
do that, Because it was approved.
Yep, yeah, we definitely need a motion to update them. I guess an EMS, I would like to be on that one. I've had a lot of involvement in that over the years.
do we need to make those as separate motions or
If you're all okay with it, you can make it one motion.
in one motion?
Yeah,
So where do you see EMS?
Oh, right there.
I, right about in the middle, right under emergency management.
Okay,
At this point, I'm just gonna stick with my committees and see how they go for the year, so.
Yeah. And the VA, I mean, we'll have to address that when they come on the agenda, so that'll be separate.
The
But,
other thing that I wanted to address too is because the NICOG and the North Central Regional Response Commission, since those are tied together, Carter is the alternate for NICOG, but I'm listed as the alternate for the Response Commission, which, as you were saying, those meet back to back, so the.
One of the two of us just be alternate for both.
Yeah,
That's fine.
who wants it? Flip a coin.
I could be the alternate for both of those, since you say that they kind of tie in together as well with.
Well, actually, the Transportation Policy Board meets right after the emergency management and
Why don't I just take the alternate for that?
Yeah, probably be better for
I mean,
Carter,
since
'cause
I'm on
he's
the
got
other two,
transportation.
Yeah.
I'm on the other two, so.
okay, so
Yep,
Carter's taking the alternate for Transportation Policy Board.
he's
and-
already the alternate for
Right,
the transportation.
Right, and North Central Regional Response.
Yeah,
Yes.
put Carter as alternate instead of Josh there. Probably. And we'll see how the discussions go. Workforce development may disappear, but I don't know that we need to change that at this point in time.
so tonight we have an EMS meeting at 5:00.
Okay, I can be there. I was gonna be here in town anyway, so.
Okay,
I was thinking that was 6 o'clock, let me double check.
no, that's you.
Okay, so EMA is at 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
E911 is at
five
7.
before that. Okay.
EMS is before that?
Yes.
Okay.
The 911 board's at 7.
I have those written together for some reason, so.
So were we changing the NICOG board delegate or not?
No, that's gonna,
Be the
Yeah.
North Central Regional Response Commission delegate.
alternate, that's the
Right,
only.
I know.
NIACOG, North Central Regional Response, and Transportation Policy Board would be the same delegate and alternate. It'd be Roger and Carter for both, all three of those.
Well, actually, your EMS board. Or EMA board. Emergency Management Commission, if Josh Wagner's gonna do that one, then he should do, the policy board, transportation policy delegate.
That only met one time in the last 4
Every
years,
quarter.
so. I'm pretty sure Johnny was on that before and.
Yeah,
there's
it
only-
meets quarterly, you want the schedule, I can tell it to you, but it meets quarterly.
So you're saying the Emergency Management Commission delegate should have Transportation Policy Board delegate as well?
Right, because they meet one or after the other in Mason City.
But the Emergency Management Commission does not.
That's what we
They're-
talked about
they're-
before, that's
yes.
not together.
They're here in the county versus going to Mason City. She's saying that the hazmat is over there, but it doesn't have to be the same Board of Supervisor delegate.
Your hazmat is Emergency Management Commission delegate.
I don't,
Because
You can
then,
disagree with that, but that's the way it is.
then we would have to separate and have someone on a hazmat
yeah,
and then someone on an emergency management, is that correct? Or if
We're not, you
you
don't
went that route?
separate the two.
I know, but I'm just saying, like if,
If you're on the commission, you're on the commission, so. I don't care. But I can't see two people driving to Mason City, one right after the other during the meeting. That's my point. If you wanna do that, fine, I don't care, but that's the way it is.
do they have Zoom options and stuff for those meetings too?
For which one?
Hazmat,
The hazmat is Zoom.
hazmat, you can zoom that one, but you can't zoom the other one.
So,
And I will tell you the hazmat one is usually half hour,
Yeah.
so sometimes not even that.
so that's not a big deal.
So it's not, sometimes.
Well, Derek's back here, so somebody make a motion on this and,
I'll make a motion to update the committee assignments.
you better specify what you want.
Okay, so can I read back what I
Yeah,
have
do you
to
wanna
make
read
sure?
the changes?
So, Josh as emergency management delegate, Roger as emergency management alternate.
Yep.
Kyle as EMS delegate, and Carter as North Central Regional Response alternate. Correct?
I think so.
Yes, yep,
And, but I'm gonna say that the emergency, or EMS is going to meet today, and they're going to determine how the advisory board is supposed to be filled.
yeah, I'll be at the meeting,
Okay.
that's fine.
So do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
no. I don't need
You got it all now?
You can get the next one.
All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're at,
Chris,
They're presenting.
Not
much is
really,
it?
I just, well, I sit on the ARPA committee, so, I think the committee approved a few items for you guys. I just wanted to say they have support of every member, it was unanimous votes on everything that came over. I know there's been some discussion on this trailer, it sounds to me like there's legitimate need for that trailer. And I don't know where that funds come from, the ARPA committee has the funds available for that. And that's not my department, but it sounded to me like in that meeting, there was, some valid points for that. So I just wanted to share that, that's all I had. Let you guys discuss that, on your own, but, I wanna make sure you guys were aware of that, so.
so we have a resolution on the agenda to approve the use of ARPA funds. The resolution is 124-23-1, and it is for an EMA trailer, and we talked about the ambulance, and now we would dedicate $225,000 for the ambulance,
And-
correct?
And
Yes.
section unit.
portable section, yeah.
And the trailer is up to 55,000 is what the board said.
Yeah,
Or not the board,
which,
the
Do you think you're gonna need 55,000?
We just said up to that, I don't know, cause I haven't really started to, like, I looked up some things and there is some things that are on sale that we could utilize. Like I had one that was a discounted 2022, but it's sold already and that was at 38,000, so I wouldn't have had to use all of that. So to bring the rest of you up to speed, so there's the huge red trailer, that's the big issue.
you wanna
You-
come up?
Yeah,
Sit in the back. We're not in church.
So you can see everybody?
So the EMS Association has the big red trailer. EMA insures the trailer. It is leaking, and it's gonna take some repair, quite a bit of repair, they'll have to get it all out, redo all that. It is extremely heavy. My truck is the only vehicle that is able to pull it, therefore it limits the response. So if I'm out of county doing a training or somewhere and they need it, there's not an available vehicle unless the county has something close to that they could go and pull that. So looking at this, working with Phil and looking at EMS, fire, all that stuff, the red trailer's purpose was for mass casualty, medical triaging, fire rehab, incident command, so forth. So looking at that, working with Phil as well, we were looking at just not putting the money into that red trailer, selling that, using that, some of that money to put what we need into the new trailer. So the new trailer, it would be all for fire rehab again, mass casualty, medical triage, incident command. It would still be, used for the same purposes and it's deployable a lot better because then we're looking at things that would be able to be pulled by other than just my heavy truck. So that's where we're looking at, and that's why we were asking how the funds, it meets all the responding agencies' needs that it is needed for, our fire, EMS, law.
So you guys are talking about selling that red trailer to help cover,
Yeah, if we can get it sold.
okay, that's owned by EMS. How do
It
you-
is EMS Association, and they've already okayed to sell it.
So the funds would go back to them,
They would use those funds to put whatever needs to be put in the trailer.
okay?
How much does it cost? I mean, did you get an estimate as far as what it costs to repair the trailer versus purchasing a new one, or was that?
I didn't pursue it because one, then we still are at that issue of
Wait,
weight, and my truck is the only one to pull it, so
What
then
year is
again.
trailers?
The red trailer, like how old is it? How long has it been in the county?
2000, didn't we talk about that?
Yeah, I think it's
We'll
like
talk
12
about
years
that.
old, something like that.
I think I heard a different number some other time, I don't know, I'd have to.
I have
Yeah,
the titles
I'd
at
have to
my
look
office,
back
so,
at that.
It's older than 10.
yes, it is older than 10.
It was bought before I came.
And it was here when I started public health in 2011. So, and it was 210 or 209, somewhere around there.
Does this factor in any, funds that are already available for the trailer repair or purchase?
So, no, the funds would come from the sale of that red trailer for inside.
Okay, I'd have to talk to probably Dave or Phil, but I believe when it was used for vaccination clinic or whatever, there was revenue.
Oh, the COVID-19, yes, there is some funds there.
And that's
sorry,
still, that's still available? for
Yes,
this?
yeah.
Well, this trailer will be owned by the county because it's being used with our dollars, it can't be owned by emergency management. So this will be a county-owned trailer, not an EMA trailer.
Oh, the other trailer was titled underneath Kossuth County.
Everything is titled right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, it says on the agenda.
So the county
EMA
actually
trailer.
owns it, it doesn't matter.
Well, it's for EMA, but it's not. just like the building.
It's a
The
county
building's-
trailer for EMA use, but not
Just like-
exclusively for EMA
Just like the
use.
building.
Just like
is
the
under
building, same.
Supervisors,
Right.
yeah, because it's ARPA funds, it won't be under the budget of EMA.
And it sounded like EMS is in support of this too. He's got some.
They've already had that discussion with the
So-
EMS Association, yeah.
So the ARPA funds, that is just strictly for the trailer, that's not equipping the trailer, anything like that, just for the purchase of the trailer itself.
Well, I had some concerns in the ARPA meeting when this was discussed, and I don't wanna repeat all of that, but I'd like to see more, well, first off, ARPA, I don't really like just using that as a blank checkbook, because the money's available, it's not my intention for ARPA. I don't know.
What do we have in ARPA, or how does, if you could explain to me briefly how that works as far as the money we receive from them?
Well, it started out, we received $2.8 million.
Okay.
It started out that they issued a list of what it could be used for, and it was very specific, and it could be only used to fight COVID, pretty much,
Okay.
or to prevent or mitigate COVID. Well, then it
So
was,
if you look at the form, it's got category qualifications, so there, in the initial stuff, there was categories that define that.
correct, and then it got opened up, to where it can be used for any governmental service. Okay, so, right now, we have spent most of our ARPA funds. The ambulance was on hold, so, because Bill wanted to wait until after the election before we allocated those funds. So we've already taken that 225. So, and Carissa had originally asked for a drone, which she was able to get grants for that. So she had the money set aside for that was available, so she asked if she could present a new, item with, instead of using the money for the drone. And then, so we're at just about $30,000 that we have left. I hate to go much lower than that because some of our projects are coming in higher than what was presented originally because of the cost of everything, and some of the projects didn't include shipping, and so, you know, that's, I don't want to.
Do you remember the timeline on the top of your head? I believe we had to have things obligated by either
2024.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, 24, so we technically have all of this year and all of next year to even decide what it gets spent on, and
And
then
we have
there's time.
$30,000 left
Yes.
That's,
out of that
Out of
2.8
2.8
million.
million.
so we're at,
So what you're requesting, we don't have ARPA funds to cover.
no, we do,
Oh, we
no,
do.
the only thing
Oh,
that is
this-
taking
that's
something
minus,
else is the
yeah.
6,000,
after.
so, yeah.
So say after the
those
purchase of the
projects.
trailer,
Yes,
then we would have $30,000.
yes, and the 6,000 would be out of that.
And we
because that
have 2
hasn't
years
been-
to spend it,
Okay,
or to decide what to even spend it on.
sure.
So, yeah, that money is,
But at some point, it'd be nice to have it done.
Yeah,
and Elizabeth with her.
I don't disagree with the need for it, it's, do we wanna use all ARPA funds for it, and is there any other avenues such as grants or, any other type of funding from other entities that will take use of this? And there's another thing that kinda came up when we were down there, that there was a county that purchased a trailer and they allowed for surrounding counties to rent that trailer for their events and stuff like that.
So that red trailer does go throughout the county. It goes
Yeah.
to other counties. It was used over in Forest City for their big musical festival all the time
Okay.
for their incident command. It has gone to, I know it's gone down to Wright County. I think it's been used for multiple things.
Do
So
we get-
yes, that,
Do we get revenue from them using it?
the agreement with the emergency management, that we use each other's equipment if we need it.
And
Now, if it's a disaster, I can charge for those things, but
doesn't Emmett County have a new?
they have a new trailer too, and that's exactly what we were trying to build off of, is like what they have.
But we would have a neighbor that's immediately beside us that would have that as well.
So I just gonna bring up like the derecho, you know, that's been common, and we've had one up at the lakes, and we've had, you know, you've seen down in central Iowa. They use every county's pretty much incident command trailer, so, because it hit everyone, so you can't just rely on, well, I had that other county's trailer if I need it. What happens, it affects,
We still
if it affects all of us, and then going back to the fire rehab part of it, right now, they're rehabbing out of the ambulance, which is not kosher, because then they have to go back and sanitize that, and what chemicals are they bringing into that, to the ambulance, and they have to go back and sanitize. So, again, going back to it, multiple things, you know, could be vaccination clinics in the county, again, like, we did use the red trailer for that, we took that out to do vaccinations in the communities for COVID. You know, that's an option again for public health, the trailer be used for, you know, fire rehab again, disaster, you know, we don't know, I mean, our climate is so different lately, and we were having tornadoes in December, you know, and we have derechos and hoo-boos that we don't normally see, so.
I did ask during our ARPA committee if the emergency management could pay half, but it sounds like with the ARPA funds, we can't do that, it's gotta be all county owned. But I did bring that up initially, if that we could do a 50-50 split, but, sounds
And
like
that's the same with the
not
grants
an
with the ARPA as well, you
Yeah.
cannot.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, because I think that would be a good.
Did you have a meeting today about, or with all the mayors and
I do have a meeting
today? Because some of mayors and, you know, just citizens have reached out to me with being concerned about the trailers. That's not saying you're wrong for asking, that's why we're asking these questions.
And that's why I want to be here, because I've heard complaints as well about it, so, I just wanted to let you guys know that it sounds like there's a valid need, and a split would be great, but it doesn't sound like that is a possibility, so.
I guess just it boils down to is the $55,000, is that what we wanna use the ARPA funds for? Is that the best use of that money, or not?
That's great.
I don't think so, I'm good with the ambulance and the suction units, but I would make a motion to remove the trailer from the resolution and approve the other two.
Got that down?
Yeah.
Anybody gonna second that? Do I have a second to his motion?
So you're approving resolution 124-2301 with the removal of the trailer.
Correct.
Hearing no second, fails. I would make a motion to approve resolution 124-2301.
Just a second, I gotta write that. Okay, now you can make your motion.
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 124-2301 as it stands. And ask for a second.
It's a tough one, I know, it's,
When it comes to the trailer, I don't think this is the place for it.
I'd like to know what the better option is. If we're not using the money for that, what are we looking to use the money for? Because if it is the best option, well then let's spend it, but if it's not, if there's something better to spend it on, then what is that? And that's my.
We don't have
There's
any
too many
other,
unknowns.
we don't have any other
I know.
things being presented for ARPA right now.
And what's to say these other,
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Krista.
Yep, thank you.
I'm going to ask again for a second, and if I don't get it, the motion will fail. Hearing none, the motion failed for lack of a second. Let the record show that no action was taken on resolution 124-2301.
So we're not approving the ambulance purchase or the?
Well, That's all part of that motion.
It is, yeah.
Do you wanna put it off for a week and come to the emergency management meeting
That's what
tonight?
I
I
was,
think-
Talk
that's what I was
to
gonna
Marion
ask.
and
I'd
see-
like to see how the meeting goes.
Yes, get some
Can we make a
input and some
decision on it?
support,
Next week.
cause I truly think the
So we can
ambulance
get
needs to
some
go
more-
forward,
yeah.
I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely,
that,
absolutely, yeah.
But I know I've heard a lot of grumbling both directions on it.
Even from the
Can we
mayor.
split the resolution, decide on,
We can do it however you
decide
want.
on the ambulance and the section, because those are obvious,
You can
yes.
decide that
that's-
today.
Yeah.
That is
And I think that's
motion
what
that you
Kyle-
didn't second,
Second,
right?
that was-
Okay, I didn't understand it, so can we go back to that first motion?
Well, he can make another
I
motion.
will make it
Sorry.
again to do the ambulance and the suction.
And table trailer next till next week.
I didn't realize we
Well,
could
it's-
split the resolution like that, so that's why I was like,
You're just,
So it's not directly tabling it, we
Right.
still have the option to discuss that again, but
So-
the
so
motion is
Steckers-
not directly tabling, it's removing from this one.
Stecker's making a motion to approve the resolution without the,
Trailer, correct.
We have a second to Mr. Stecker's motion,
I'll second.
second by Wactor. Any more discussion?
You didn't
You were
go
gonna-
fast enough.
Hearing no discussion, a roll call vote?
Nath,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
So I will.
I got
Thi-
it right, I just wanted you to know
Yeah,
that.
this
we
isn't
had
a no, yeah, just so you know, this isn't a no on the trailer, we want more information.
It's on my trailer, I just wanted to let you know we're on
Well,
the committee and,
yeah,
and that, so.
I'm
Appreciate it.
saying that
Yeah.
because people will ask why it got turned down, this isn't a definite no, this is we want more information before we can.
100%.
Yeah.
Did you guys change the 911 committee membership?
No.
911, no.
Okay, so Roger, you're still on first name? 7.
Oh, yeah, you wanna change it? Somebody else want it?
Just
We're
give me
past
another
that.
How well does
respond
that
if you
tie
see-
in, how well does that tie into?
I don't know why we go back and forth anymore. I don't have room on my
So
paper.
no, we'll see you next time.
You're stuck on
Or
it.
if you change that, somebody's gotta let me
Oh, she's
know,
got it.
I gotta leave it tonight. so.
Yes, I do have room if you wanna change it.
If you wanna change it, do you wanna be the 911 delegate? You gotta go to meetings tonight then.
They'd be, that,
I mean, they.
that would be more side by side than the one in
Yeah.
Mason City.
Yeah. Sorry, Tina.
That's okay.
So.
We're gonna have carpal
I'll be
tunnel.
calling you later to
Sorry,
see
you
what
want
we
to vote in the
did.
minutes now?
Okay, so you're taking 911, Josh?
Yes, I will take
Somebody
that.
has to make that motion.
I'll make the motion to appoint
Okay.
Josh to the 911.
Drum roll, please.
Motion, okay, second,
I'll second.
I was waiting a second.
okay.
Any discussion?
Okay.
Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll say I'm opposed.
You're opposed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You don't wanna relax tonight?
Well, I don't need to go to any of them tonight.
No, you don't.
Is there anything else you wanna change?
No, Roger, you're not gonna do anything now, you're not gonna be on any boards.
That's all right.
He had a lot of meetings.
Yeah,
so.
he's got the most, I'm pretty sure.
Does anybody wanna do Kent?
Nope.
Now he's ready
Now,
to.
now Tammy's out of room for notes.
Yeah, now there is.
The auditor
really
says no, we're moving on.
Yeah,
I think somebody.
But you're
should
still-
do Kent.
You're still on for the 9 o'clock stuff, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, that didn't change.
No.
So we didn't take everything.
okay.
He's still probably got more out of anyone for committee assignments, so. He's not gonna be completely bored.
Boy, yeah, I don't have any tonight now. That's good.
We just opened your night up for you.
Anything else to come before the good of Kossuth County?
Oh, wait a
do you
second, I don't know what we've missed yet, let me look.
Finish the auditor and board.
Actually, it's auditor and board discussion is all that I do not have crossed off.
Okay,
Oh, we got board discussion. No.
Tammy was in the middle of her stuff.
so, and I
We were
will
in-
quick fix this Article 1, so you guys can all sign it before you leave. Okay, so to touch base back on, budget workshops, a little bit. So it's gonna be a lot in a short amount of time to get everything done because you guys are pretty much gonna have to meet with all department heads over again to talk about wages and stuff. But I'm guessing just because it's wages, they might not take as long, so I would, but they might take longer because it's wages. So do you want, when I set them up, I'm not gonna put times on them on the agenda because we had that
Just the
issue
start
last time.
time.
Just the start time, but I'll list what departments we're talking about each time. But
And
do you
tell-
want me to set them up in 15-minute increments or half-hour increments?
I think I would say just call them, like, can we tell them to kind of be ready and then we call
No,
them?
I know, but when I set it up on the schedule, do you want, because I'll tell them what
Wow.
time and how long. So I won't have it on the agenda, but they'll have a schedule, because what I did last time is
Yeah,
I
you
just
have
told them to
set-
go
you had the other
in,
sheet.
go in and
We
set it
cannot
up.
start until their time, correct? Or-
If
No,
it's on the
if
agenda.
it's on the agenda, but I'm not gonna put it on the
Oh, okay.
agenda. So that's why, but what I did last time is I set up a worksheet, they could just go on and put what
Yeah,
time, so I
yeah.
need to know what kind of
Maybe.
slots to put in, to put 15 minutes
If
slots
it's
or
just
half hour
wages, I
slots.
mean, it shouldn't take a half hour per department.
It could.
Well,
It easily
because
could.
we're adding the wages to each department, so we're kind of having to review the department as well.
Well, I guess
It's-
put them a half hour,
I-
if we're running early, we're running early.
I
can
would
move-
say
If
Bill,
we're running a half hour early, we'll just move one up and then that comes good.
Yeah.
That's like what we did last time, we called Aaron over, so.
yeah, I would just have them ready and be available by phone so that we don't have people sitting in here
Yeah.
for a half an hour
Yeah.
either.
Okay, I can,
That's not productive for anyone.
Probably when you get to Doug, you're gonna have to have a little extra time.
well, we haven't done any of his yet,
I
and he
know.
has gotten me his now, so I have all of his now.
Can we have that like at the beginning of the list or
Well,
one of the first days, cause if, that'll take a lot.
Well, I leave it up to them, what works for them, and they go in and put in the times, I don't decide that. So that, because otherwise it's too much of, Tammy, that doesn't work for me, and this doesn't work for me, and so it's easier for them to put in their own times. Pass that down.
To all of us or?
Yes, that would be great, please. So if we, tomorrow, so who all meets tomorrow for the union? Just you? How does, I don't know, this is my first union.
This the whole board, but then
Yeah.
Just only
when you had discussions with them, it was usually chair and vice chair.
Just chairman's
Or-
passed, but
Okay, do
Okay.
I need to be there?
yeah,
Am I
Yeah.
supposed to be there? Okay,
you gotta take notes.
okay, just because this is my first negotiation. I
Usually the
check.
chairman goes in and negotiates and then he comes back and asks the board if it's acceptable.
Okay, so we worked that here, and then from what Renee told me, in the email that she sent me, I asked her specifically if I needed to put on the agenda the meeting with women, she said no.
Okay.
So, because it wasn't, if they weren't gonna be presenting any information, it was just gonna be maybe touching base with him. So that's why that is not on the agenda, so I'm getting that directly from her.
Okay.
She told me exactly how to word it on the agenda. So,
So they don't have a formal presentation?
no, the negotiator, the bargaining unit, no.
When do we?
Not that Renee knows of it, not that I know
Do we have any idea if they will soon?
of. Well, they're gonna have to,
Willie's
because,
he's got an idea. He's
There-
gonna present something, I'm sure.
Well, then why don't they make it a formal thing and we discuss it?
Cause there's a.
there's not enough time now to put that on the agenda. It's gotta be on the agenda 24 hours.
Yeah, I
Friday.
mean, it's 11:30 now.
Okay, I have nothing else to do, Kyle.
I mean, it's one line, it's not that big a deal. I could type that up in 5 minutes.
I mean, that's something we'd have to ask, Renee and Will, I guess, we'd have to check
Yeah.
with them and see if it's something, we could call her and see if she's heard anything.
I just don't want him to come on Wednesday and say, this is our thoughts or whatever, and expect us to go back and forth and
Why don't,
be like, oh, let's schedule something
Let
for
me-
tomorrow.
is it okay if I call him and have him come in here and we can find out what he's expecting to do? Okay. So, let me call him quick.
Yeah, my whole point is I just don't wanna do something Thursday or Friday when we could have done it tomorrow.
Hey, do you have a minute you can come in the boardroom? Okay, we'll see you shortly, thank you. Bye. Okay. We'll just ask him and then we can contact Renee and figure
Yeah,
out.
cause I mean, at least here, we're still in session, so. take you an hour and a half to type out?
It's not the
What?
typing, it's the posting and the sending to the paper and all that kind of stuff that
Right.
takes time. It's all the stuff that goes with it that you don't think about.
I know, I was just giving you a hard time.
Okay. Yes, no, I can do it as long as I know, but I still think we need to talk to Renee and make sure she's ready to do it too. So,
Yeah.
once we talk to Will, we can talk to Renee.
Well, he's coming.
And then, let me think what else. So, back to when we do it. If we are able to figure stuff out tomorrow, does it usually take more than a day? How long does it usually take?
You might have a couple times.
Depends upon how realistic they are, it might take 2 days.
Yeah.
And they can set the second day up for like this weekend, or would that be next week?
Well,
I mean,
It's
still
up to
has the
Renee there.
posting, but
Okay,
potentially early next week.
okay. So if I set stuff up for Tuesday afternoon, I won't have to know that till Friday. So if I set it up for Tuesday afternoon, that would be okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, so, just quick question, did Renee talk to you about meeting tomorrow for bargaining unit?
Mhm.
Do you have a presentation you're going to be presenting at that time, or is it just informal talking? Or what is your plan for tomorrow?
I assumed it was just like it was 3 years ago when we did it, where we sit down with the chair and Renee and we discuss, and the chair goes back to the board.
So that would be
So
formal.
you
that's formal.
are anticipating a,
Well, that's what I assumed, but
I don't think
You-
Renee's
You're
on
gonna
this.
have to have a written proposal for us.
You have to have an initial proposal.
Yeah.
We have to have a starting point, so
I
to
think we
speak.
need to have Renee and
Yeah.
have this conversation with her.
Do you know her number? Or,
oh, question, why has it changed from the last time we did this?
that would be the same.
Okay, so Renee, would
No. Kyle, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I was here and you weren't, and we did not have a written
3 years
proposal.
ago, I was here.
But when we sat down, we did not give a written proposal. We came in, discussed it. Jack went back and talked to you guys. We went to the ladies and talked, and then we came back together and met in the middle.
let's call Renee.
We've always had a written one from the secondary road one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Why yours
maybe
would-
you have, but we never
why
have
yours
from the
would be
county.
Different.
They have a union.
Unless-
This isn't a union, this is only a.
Well, there was a union the last time though.
And we never gave Artie any information of, well, this is what we're asking or not asking.
You got it, okay.
Is it try her work number or?
You want her cell phone?
I have
Either way.
both.
Try her work first if you want to. Thank you. And then we all know we're on the same page. I just wanna make sure that we're all getting what we were expecting tomorrow.
Well, I assumed we were negotiating tomorrow.
That's not what Renee sent me in the email, so.
We're sorry, your call cannot be
I didn't.
completed as dialed.
That line.
I didn't hit one first, I don't
Oh,
know.
you
if
gotta get one,
that's how long it didn't take it there. Try again.
So Renee says she hasn't received anything from you regarding your initial proposal. So that's why she didn't think.
We get done with, road workers, we'll just start with Willie,
And we can add it to the agenda.
then we need to add it on the agenda.
If Renee's right, you might have to submit something to her. Well, she do see what she says.
Yeah. Oh, she answers.
This is Renee Von Volkern. I'm sorry I'm not available.
Let's try again.
Was that her cell phone?
No, this will be yours.
Okay.
This is Renee. I'm sorry I'm not available to take.
I thought it was really her.
Yeah.
Which one?
Do I
I got
try calling her from my
4,
cell,
6,
so
7.
she'd have my number in there, she might. it
Yeah,
might
go ahead,
recognize.
yeah.
2467, that's for Sal.
This is Renee.
Straighten your voice.
She might be on the phone. Well,
Why don't you
we
just-
can try calling her in a few minutes after you, that's I think all I have, if you guys want to do supervisor stuff, we can go back.
Yeah.
Safety your plea.
Mr. Carter, do you have anything you did last week?
I'm gonna call Ron and have him come over, cause this,
I just attended ISAC, and great opportunity to network with other people around the state and get some starter information, and I enjoyed being down there, so I'm, like we mentioned earlier, we got to go
Get
speak
over
with,
here.
our legislators and
well, if they
discuss
just
some
wanna
EMS
talk.
stuff, so, great
But-
opportunity. That's all I have, I missed the wellness committee while I was there too.
John?
Yeah, same thing, down at ISAC and got to network, meet with the other board supervisors, guys that have been there for a while, other new guys. Discuss things that they're running into and things like that, and just kinda network and share information and then the second day, we got to, have presentations from the other departments, you know, treasurer's office, auditor's office, and see how everything all kind of tied in together, and it was nice to get that kind of overview to start with, so.
I'm
it
so
was a
glad that they
good
have that
event.
school bringing officers because it really does help.
It is,
Yeah.
took lots of notes.
Kyle?
Obviously, same as them, the ISAC meetings, the capital, we've already discussed. Committee assignment or committee reports, talked about workforce before, I have CIJDC on Friday. So that'll be coming up, and with the Zoom in the afternoon, now that I think about that, we'll have to see what time I get back, cause I might just have to watch that as I drive back or something, listen to it. Otherwise, I think pretty much everything else we've kinda hashed out as the meeting's gone here and discussed, so I think that pretty well wraps up mine.
Does everybody have a Zoom contacts for the meeting on Friday?
I don't know if I have a link in my email. I'll
Meeting on
check.
Friday?
But I don't think you have to be there, Roger, I think the attorney's doing it.
I know they are you going to Zoom into it? Anybody, that's what he's talking about. I didn't
What
get mine.
meeting is on?
This is in regards
That's
to
just-
a lawsuit.
Before us,
okay.
yeah, we were in.
I haven't seen a link, so.
It should have been on the paperwork that you got.
The item I have on my calendar, I don't have a link on there, but I know I would have it in my electronic
Okay.
documents for the case, so I can find that and I can send it to you if you don't have it.
So you are planning on going on?
I will probably sign in for it, if nothing else, just to listen and watch, but yeah, I will plan on being there. I can't guarantee if the other meeting runs long or something, but I will.
So
Intend to
I'll
be
tell the other ones, anybody that asks, they'll have to Zoom in on
No, the attorney's supposed to be covering it, so they don't have to, it's just if they want.
It's
They want.
optional,
Right.
yeah, it's
it.
optional.
Elsbecker wanted to know how to Zoom in on it, so Don Grigger.
It's on the, I think,
Is it on that?
Yeah, it should have been on that.
Okay.
It's all in the court case.
If not, they've probably got phone numbers to call, so.
Well,
Oh,
it's all in the judge's order, there's a Zoom link in there.
Okay. Anything else?
okay, should we try
No,
everything?
it's-
Yeah, I forgot to mention I have 3 meetings tonight.
Yeah.
4,
well,
cause I got economic development at 4 o'clock. 5 is the EMS.
Yep.
6 is the emergency management,
And 7.
and then 7 is
911.
E911.
Lucky you.
You're not on EMS.
I am now, we made that change.
No, you're on EMA, you're on
Oh.
EMA. Kyle is on EMA.
Wrong initial.
Yeah,
No, wait a second, he's on
Or no, I'm on
line
the E911.
you're on E911.
Yeah.
As the
That,
delegate.
yeah,
That was the change we just
Yeah.
made.
Emergency management.
You might as well just sit there a moment.
just have all E's,
Oh, I'll
I
be
mean. Yeah, let's call her. Cell or work?
Try some. If that was busy, she's obviously on that, probably not in and out of that.
Renee.
Hey Renee, this is Kyle. We got you on the conference line here in the boardroom. Tammy's here, all board members except Jack and Ron and Willie are in the boardroom here as well.
Hi Renee,
Okay.
this is Tammy.
Hello.
Hello. So, after we emailed last week, I didn't put anything separate on the, agenda for the bargaining unit because you said it was gonna be informal. Well, Will was planning on, actually it being a normal negotiation. So Will and Ron are here. Is that something that you will be ready for? Can we still add that to the agenda for tomorrow? We wanted to get your thoughts.
Yeah, we can be ready. Will, do you guys have an initial proposal prepared, or were you planning on just having a discussion, or what?
I was thinking we were gonna do it just like we did 3 years ago, where we come in and we sit and talk, and you go back to the board and we go back to the ladies and meet in the middle.
Yeah, so we can, what was sort of hard to predict is exactly what time. Because I think we're gonna meet with the road, and then I don't know, you just never know how long that's gonna take. But yeah, we can certainly do that. It's just that I suppose we can put a time down, we can kind of guess at a time, and then, we may have to modify that. But I was planning on doing that. I was planning on meeting with the courthouse unit tomorrow.
Yeah, we're not about a phone call away.
I just didn't know if we were gonna follow all of the normal procedures regarding, the exchange of initial proposals. We don't have to do that, so that's why I said, that's why I used the word more informal. Might have thrown people off, but I was planning on, meeting with that unit tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you want, so I'm gonna have to add to the agenda then and get it out before this afternoon?
So if what we're doing is bargaining, we don't need to do anything on the agenda, because the only thing that has to be on an agenda is if there's an official exchange of initial proposals. So, for example, the union has a sheet of paper that says, wage increase of so-and-so, and we have one back. In this case, I don't know that that's really required. So, negotiations are exempt from chapter 4.
So if we don't make a decision, it doesn't need to be an agenda item.
Well, it's not a board of supervisor meeting.
Yep.
And I know that's kind of confusing, but so there really is no decisions to make. We reach we meet with the two bargaining teams, we reach a tentative agreement, they take it back to ratify, the board votes, and then it's public. So the negotiations are just simply not, there's no requirements. There's no open meeting requirements, there's no agenda, there's no.
So the only reason we have the one on for tomorrow with the roads is because of the formal initial proposal, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, correct.
Well, I think that answers our questions,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, then we're good.
I guess. Well,
So we're starting with the road at 1, right?
Correct.
yep,
So I'm gonna estimate, I'm gonna estimate 3 o'clock.
Okay.
But I'm assuming, Will, you'll sort of be out, around, and we can
We'll be
let
here.
you know, or text you or something when we're done, in case we get done early.
Mhm.
yep.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, all
Well,
right, thank you.
That works, we'll see you tomorrow,
All right.
thanks.
Okay.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
bye-bye.
bye-bye.
And that's the way we did it before.
We'll leave it at that.
So you guys must have never submitted a formal initial
last time.
proposal.
Like I said, I was just going off what we did last time, cause we never gave Artie any information saying, hey, this is what we want, can we go for this? We just sat down at the table.
Well,
Okay.
that's that, so we got got that crisis
I don't have
averted.
to put that out there, okay, perfect. We just wanted to make sure we weren't doing something and meeting illegally without it posted.
Cross the Ts and dot the Is.
That's fine.
We didn't wanna not have to say we can't do this because we didn't do
Yeah,
it correct.
we still have 24 hours even though it's close.
I was pretty sure that's how they did it, I mean, last time we did it that way.
Okay, well,
Very good, we're all
that
done.
should be it, right?
We had too many negotiations last time.
What?
We had too many, we had the sheriff, road workers,
Um,
and you guys.
Okay, back to the committee assignments real quick. So we just did, for me to be the delegate on E911?
Yes.
Is that what it was?
Yes,
Okay, so who's the alternate then? Because I was the alternate and Roger was the delegate. I just wanna make sure that we've got that sorted
hold
out.
on. I can't find my paper.
Can you read through 10 pages of notes?
I don't know what I did with other things, sorry. Here, a second. Here it is. Okay, so E911. You're right, so we're gonna have to make, somebody's gonna have to make a motion to,
Let's put Carter as alternate.
Alternate on 911.
Yeah,
are you making that motion?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carried.
Sorry, didn't mean to beat that dead horse,
No,
but it
no,
was,
yeah,
it was
we
just,
can
I
fix
just
that,
thought
yeah.
about it, and I was like, well, I was the alternate, so we need to have a new alternate, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, hold on, let me find that. Please.
We haven't got to that page yet.
Yeah, okay.
We've only gotten to that page 5 times and then gone back.
Who made that motion?
Carter.
Carter.
Okay, and who's second?
I did.
Okay.
All those in favor of adjourning?
I
Aye.
am hungry.
Oh, well.
Right before lunch, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you for
We
that.
didn't make it with much room to spare.
Yes, thank you. I think Roger forgot about that, and I just.
What's that?
Okay.
So I am not on EMS, EMS is yours,
Correct.
and that means